Carl Jung identified 7 such environments that can destroy 90% of people's mental strength. These environments are not physical places, but rather mental traps that individuals unknowingly enter daily. Many people spend years in these spaces, feeling drained, anxious, or lost, and often blame themselves for their struggles. But Jung knew the truth. Certain environments literally rewire your brain to work against you. In 1961, Jung treated a patient who seemed perfectly normal, but was slowly losing his mind. Jung traced the problem back to 7 specific psychological spaces this man inhabited daily. Once Jung helped him recognize and escape these mental traps, his patient transformed completely. Today, I'll show you exactly which places are breaking your mind, how to recognize when you're trapped in them, and Jung's escape protocol that can save. Because what Jung discovered about these dangerous spaces will change how you see every relationship, every room, and every decision for the rest of your life. The first and most dangerous place Jung identified is the echo chamber, where every voice around you mirrors your own thoughts, beliefs, and biases back to you until they feel like absolute truth. Jung's patients spent hours each day in social clubs and political gatherings where everyone shared his exact views, fears about social changes, and anger towards certain groups. He thought he was staying informed, but Jung realized he was getting psychologically poisoned. Here's what happens to your brain in an echo chamber. Your neural pathways literally weaken. Dr. Matthew Lieberman's research at UCLA shows that when you're never challenged, your critical thinking muscles atrophy like unused limbs. Jung called this collective possession. When group thinking replaces individual thought, the patient stopped questioning anything because questioning felt like betrayal. His worldview became rigid, fragile, and terrified of different perspectives. The warning signs you're trapped in an echo chamber. You can predict what everyone around you will say about any topic. Different opinions feel personally threatening rather than intellectually interesting. You've stopped asking what if I'm wrong about your core beliefs. Your conversations reinforce rather than challenge your thinking. Jung discovered that people in echo chambers don't just stop growing, they start shrinking. Their minds become smaller. Personal failure. Every achievement felt meaningless because someone else had accomplished more. Dr. Rachel Gallagher's research at the University of the West of England proves what Jung observed. Constant comparison literally shrinks the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-worth and decision. Here's the psychological trap. Comparison doesn't motivate you to improve. It trains your brain to find inadequacy everywhere. Jung called this the inflation-deflation cycle. Fearful and more dependent on the group for psychological safety. But this is just the beginning of how these places destroy you, because echo chambers make you mentally weak. Therefore, you become vulnerable to the second dangerous place, the comparison arena, where your worth is measured against everyone else's achievements and status. Jung's patient, already fragile from echo chamber thinking, started obsessively comparing his life to others in his social circle. Every success story from acquaintances felt like personal failure. Every achievement felt meaningless because someone else had accomplished more. Dr. Rachel Gallagher's research at the University of the West of England proves what Jung observed. Constant comparison literally shrinks the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-worth and decision. Here's the psychological trap. Comparison doesn't motivate you to improve. It trains your brain to find inadequacy everywhere. Jung called this the inflation-deflation cycle. Either feel superior or inferior, never simply yourself. The patient told Jung, "I got promoted at work, but all I could think about was how my college friend became CEO faster." His achievements became meaningless because they weren't relative victories. Warning signs you're trapped in the comparison arena. Other people's success makes you feel like a failure. You achieve goals but feel empty because someone did it better. You edit your life to match what looks successful rather than what feels right. Your happiness depends on being ahead of others. Jung realized this place is particularly deadly because it disconnects you from your own values and desires. You stop pursuing what brings you joy and start chasing what brings recognition. But the third place is even more insidious. Before we continue, you need to understand the science behind why these places are so dangerous. Modern neuroscience has proven Jung's observations about environmental psychology. Dr. Daniel Siegel's research shows that toxic psychological environments trigger chronic cortisol release, which literally shrinks your hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory and emotional regulation. But here's what Jung understood before neuroscience could prove it. These places don't just damage you temporarily, they rewire your default mental state. Spend enough time in toxic psychological environments and your brain starts recreating their patterns even when you're alone. Jung's patient developed what neuroscientists now call learned helplessness. His brain had been trained by these environments to expect failure, criticism, and inadequacy, even in safe spaces. He couldn't relax because his neural pathways had been carved by psychological danger. This is why Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. These places program your unconscious mind to work against you. The most disturbing part, most people don't realize they're being programmed because the damage happens gradually, subtly beneath conscious awareness. The third dangerous place Jung identified is the performance theater, where authenticity is punished and you're rewarded only for wearing the right mask. Jung's patient worked in a corporate environment where showing any vulnerability was career suicide. He learned to laugh at jokes that weren't funny, agree with ideas he opposed, and hide any part of himself that didn't fit the company culture. Jung called this persona identification, when the mask you wear becomes the only identity you recognize. The patient told Jung, "I don't know who I am anymore. I've been performing for so long that the real me feels like a stranger." This place is psychologically deadly because it trains you to abandon yourself gradually. Each compromise feels small, but they compound into complete self-betrayal. Dr. Christine Neff's research on self-compassion shows that people trapped in performance theaters develop severe inner critics. They internalize the harsh judgment of these environments and carry it everywhere. Warning signs: you're in a performance theater. You feel exhausted after social interactions, not energized. You catch yourself agreeing with things you don't believe. You're afraid to share opinions that might be unpopular. You feel like you're wearing a costume that you can't take off. Your real thoughts and feelings seem dangerous or inappropriate. The patient described it perfectly. "I became so good at being what others wanted that I forgot what I wanted. And when I tried to remember, there was nothing there." Jung realized this place doesn't just hide your authentic self. It erases it layer by layer, compromise by compromise, until you're a hollow performance with no core. Because performance theaters teach you to hide your real self. Therefore, you become trapped in the fourth dangerous place, the silent suffering space, where emotional needs are buried under the illusion of stability.